All right. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Boogie. And today is a very special day. As you guys can see, I've been telling you for a week straight right now. Um, just gonna wait for a few people to come into the chat. But um, so what's up, guys? As you guys come in, please just like the video so other people can see that you are here. I have a very special guest, man. I've been waiting for this day all week, and I've been telling you guys on my channel. You've been seeing the posts, and I've been keeping you updated. Um, I hope you guys are having a good afternoon, a good Sunday. I know there's a guy who told me he was going to be working, and I told him this will stay up when you're ready to come check it out. Because this is a special day. This is my first host on my channel, and I don't know if he likes this, but I like to call him the black therapist. That's literally the first time I saw him on YouTube. That's what I saw in the title. Obviously, you know, he went viral. Mrs. Plum, first person in the chat. Mrs. Plum has been I posted a video
Mhm,
of you yesterday, and she left like 10 comments. She even told
mhm,
me she'll be waiting to see. So
mhm.
Mrs. Plum, if you have a question, just type it down below. And if you want to get on the camera after like about an hour, I can even bring you up if you have any questions for this
You
man.
can definitely bring
You know,
Mrs. Plum there.
because yeah, because it seems like so many people have questions for him, especially the ladies. See, Mrs. Plum, I can see she's saying yes, I really appreciate you. So, because it's very tough in this business on these YouTube streets, especially for someone who does dating content.
Mhm,
Usually, we have the ladies saying we hate women just because we try to give the perspectives of men. Some women
mhm,
think we hate women, but for me to see a lady in my chat and watching me and not, calling me toxic masculinity and saying I hate women, it
mhm,
really warms my heart because we have differences. There are things men want, there are things women want. But I think if we can get on one page, get on a table, have a conversation, I think that will bridge the gap. But
mhm.
without further ado, man, allow me to introduce Mr. Jeff St. James. He's
Yeah.
going viral. You guys have seen him, all the videos I react to on my channel. You have seen him on different platforms. This man literally went from either maybe 3,000 to 4,000 subscribers to he's now almost to 25,000 subscribers in a matter of maybe a month, maybe 6 weeks, if that.
Mhm,
Like, this goes to show you that when you speak the truth, when you put things into perspective, sure, does he have haters? But we can see from his growth that everything he says, at least 90% of what he says, men do agree. Because most guys don't like to speak up. They don't like to tell their side of the story because they know women are going to shut them down. But clearly, his growth is showing you that men do agree with what he's saying. So allow me to introduce Mr. Jeff St. James. I call him the black therapist. I hope he doesn't get offended. That's what the internet calls him.
hey,
Everybody, has like a buzz name for themselves of what the population gives them once they, resonate with what they're saying. So allow me to let him introduce himself and then we can go from there. Guys, like the video. If you're just coming into the chat, like the video. When you like the video, other people will know we are live. And then you guys can comment down below your questions. Don't wait, just put down your questions. If you can't come on camera, if I can't bring you up, at least I can get to ask him your questions.
mhm.
So
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
introduce yourself, sir.
Yeah, so and if you wanna put my title in there, my channel name is Ask a Brother Podcast. I started this year. I was doing, like, one interview every month or so for about the first 6 months. I was just treating it like a side thing, and then, the post that kinda went viral was the clip with the 2 ladies from Canada from Sharing My Truth podcast, where they had brought me on to talk about masculinity, incel culture, just different perspectives from men's perspectives. And, it kind of went viral on July 3rd. So I'm grateful. I'm excited. I've been in the field of mental health as a therapist for over a decade. and trained certified consultant and trainer for trauma. And just excited to be here, man.
All right. So guys, I'm gonna put the link down below to his channel. If you can't see the link, I'm gonna put it down in the chat. But also, he's tagged in the title. So he's not called. His channel is not the Black Therapist. His channel is Ask a Brother. You can see it on the screen, but I'm gonna put it in the link as well, in the chat as well. So again, thank you, Mrs. Plum. And Mrs. Plum says, I can speak over the phone if that's okay with my family at the moment. Yeah, maybe after an hour, Mrs. Plum, I will definitely allow you to do that. Since you're the first lady to show me love, I'll definitely. I don't mind you if you don't come on the video and the camera. That's fine. But if you have a question, also you can put it down. And man, let's get into it. First of all, you said you're a therapist, right?
Me. Yeah.
And that's the first thing I saw when the haters were coming for you. The haters were talking about, which they like to do this every time they disagree with someone, they try to pretend or try to question their credentials. And I'm going to be honest, majority
Mhm.
obviously were women, black women. He's not a therapist, he's a phony, he's a scam. And why do you think that happens? Why do you think the first thing they do is attack your credentials? And does it even matter? Like, do I have to be a football player to say that Tom Brady is the greatest?
Yeah, credentials don't matter to them when it's someone they agree with. So that's what we come to find out. If they agree with any of these life coaches or podcasters or influencers, if they like them, if they agree with them, they're not even interested in their credentials to begin with. It's only when you're saying something that apparently they don't like that, unfortunately, that's they start kind of scrutinizing and critiquing where you got your education, or if you're actually real. And that's when they think you don't have authority. So I already knew that, and I think most of us kind of can pick up on that. It's only when they disagree that they say that. So I didn't take it too personally.
Okay, okay. So what got you into therapy? Because we know, and you could you know try to correct me, but I think the statistics is what? Is it 90% women in therapy or is it 60%? Because I know majority is women. So
Hmm.
what made you want to do therapy? Was it the fact that you know that men don't like to go to therapy because they're going to be talking to women, or men like to solve their issues through actions rather than talking? What made you inspired you to go into therapy?
Believe it or not, it just so happened that in my school at the time, there wasn't a whole lot of graduate programs that I thought, I could probably do at that in terms of what they were offering. And I had a couple professors that told me at a minimum, I'd be wasting my time if I didn't leave school with a master's or doctorate. So the week later, I applied for a graduate program and got in. And, at a season of my life when I was a troubled college student, I remember that I had gone to one of the school counselors in university, and it went well. Like they actually helped me. They helped me get like back on track, helped me get focused, and I liked how it didn't feel really weird or awkward. It was kind of cool. So I was like, I feel like I can do something like that. So, I went with it and tried it. At the time, I wasn't thinking specifically about men or women. I just wanted to help people, and in the same way in which I kind of got helped. So that was kind of what's got me. That's kind of what got me going from the very beginning.
Okay. So, you know, would you say there's this, well, at least for the women from the, because in today, I really want to be as fair as I can,
Hmm.
seeing that we have the ladies in the chat. Guys, as you come in, please like the video. If you want to share the video, that's fine, but really, really like the video. If you want to show support, if you want to, you know, drop a super chat, whatever you want to do, like the video. All right. So when it comes to therapy, we have seen so many videos of women saying men who don't go to therapy are a red flag. And
Mm.
I'm always asking myself, if women really think therapy works and they think men really need therapy, men have trauma, for a group of women who really go to therapy, they for some reason they go to therapy more than the gym, but that's neither here or there, right? So they claim they go to therapy, men should go to therapy. So if they really go to therapy and it works, how come they keep making the same mistakes, whether it's becoming two times baby mama, whether it's they can't keep a man, whether it's they still have the same bad attitude? So do you think therapy works, and why do you think women are really pushing men into therapy?
One, I think people go to therapy for different motives and different reasons and different seasons of their life. So you have individuals where something really bad happens and they're like, wow, I need some help. Right. And sometimes when they go to get that help, their belief is that the answer is, I just need somebody to listen to me. And that's sufficient. And then there's other people that go on and be like, yeah, you can listen to me, but you kind of have to tell me who caused it. And they're hoping that the therapist or psychologist or social worker who's doing clinician work will tell them, uh, oh, the cause of all your problems is so and so. Not, it's your family member, it's your friends, it's society. And then there's other people that approach therapy because they want to not only get help, be told what's wrong, but find out how they contributed to it. So people go into therapy for like different reasons and motivations, like for what it is that they're wanting to seek from it. In regards to women specifically, I think that therapy overall is very geared towards female communication styles. By multiple studies will back up and show that women generally have no problem using much more words than men do on average. And for many of them, they feel it's very cathartic for them to talk and talk therapy and narratives and being able. It's just a cathartic experience for them to kind of get it out, to talk to someone, to connect. They feel very validated, and that's great, and that can be helpful for all people. The problem is that it's twofold. For many of them, not all, a lot of them assume that that's sufficient to count as, now I've changed, I've grown, because I'm seeing a therapist and I'm talking about my issues and getting it out. Usually it requires a little bit more in order to say that you quote unquote grown and changed. And then number two, they associate those that don't approach addressing things in the same way and saying, well, if you don't go to therapy, then how are you actually growing? So my initial issue with this is that individuals, but specifically women in this question, um, they'll go to therapy, especially when they've come out of a bad situation or bad relationship. They do all this therapy, and they come out and they may be single for a while or doing therapy for a while, and they'll believe that they've grown when in all actuality, they may potentially just have not been in a situation, relationship, or interaction that triggered them. And they're like, well, I haven't dated in the last 6 months. So I've grown. I'm like, yeah, you haven't been in a relationship for 6 months. So we don't know how much you have or haven't grown. So what they're doing is they're taking what's happening in the therapy session and assuming without real world experience that uh, they're assuming that they've grown and that they're better now than everybody who hasn't. I do think that that's a level of arrogance that has kind of come, and it's almost like an elitism, cultural elitism, where it's like, well, if you don't go to therapy, well, therefore, and it's unfortunate because now it's created this tiered approach of like, well, if you haven't done what I've done, well, now we're not compatible. And it was like, well, it's possible that two people, I think therapy can be helpful, but first of all, I don't assume every therapist is good or great. And number two, I don't assume everybody's motives for going to get therapy are for the right reasons. So if you have a population of people who like to talk and a small percentage within that aren't going for the right reasons, and you also factor in that some therapists aren't that good or even great, you're going to run into a scenario where you're going to enable and prop up some narcissistic traits in the female population. So as a result, they'll think that they're better than many of the men that haven't gone to therapy yet. They'll believe that the men who disagree with the therapist that has been selected, they'll assume it's because he hasn't grown, when maybe it's the therapist's style or the therapist's approach that could be the problem. Uh, so there's a whole host of reasons for why they will pursue it. My issue is acknowledging that there needs to be more nuance when it comes to men and women's perspectives need to be acknowledged and valued, and male and female communication styles needs to be more studied and adapted to. And I think a lot of clinicians, unfortunately, have never even thought about the idea. Like for us, as therapists and clinicians, we're supposed to be trained, especially from an evidence-based perspective, just ongoing training. You're supposed to be trained with cultural adaptations, with cultural awareness. You're supposed to learn about different populations and how to cater your approach, cater your therapy to who it is that you're sitting in front of and who it is that you're talking to. How you're talking to a 12-year-old should be very different than how you're talking to a 42-year-old, right? Like it should be a little different. How you're talking to a person from one ethnic background may be very radically different from another in terms of their cultural background. So we have all these nuanced things. If they're a part of the LGBTQ, there's a unique thing that you have to kind of think about with to cater messages that's inclusive for them. But then when it comes to gender, most women are running to therapy by default, and most men are not. And if you think about all the different ways of quote unquote cultural differences, it seems like the field is taken for granted that there's cultural differences even amongst male and females, men and women. And as a result, all these other groups to customize and be really aware and culturally sensitive, they factored in all this other list of stuff and completely forgot that the boys and men have unique biology, unique psychology, and unique experiences. And when you don't factor that in, one group doesn't feel heard. They often won't do well in this space. And now they'll either kind of stay to themselves or they'll have to go to other places to figure out how to get help and support.
Man, that's really profound. So, when do you think men should really go to therapy? Like, if we know, like you said, therapy is not for everybody. Because
Mhm.
personally, I believe the reason we need, and you as a therapist, you can correct me if I'm wrong. Personally, I believe the reason we need therapy or therapy is pushed is because back in the day we had a village. So you have the mom, you have the dad, you have the aunties, you have the uncles. If a kid needs to talk, if you need to talk to
Mhm.
somebody, which I think is the first step in therapy. Somebody, you sit down with somebody, you talk about your issues, what's bothering you, and you guys figure out a plan. But like you said, some therapists, they use people for their money. As long as you
Mhm.
keep coming back, they're going to keep making money. They don't really give
Yeah.
you solutions. So
Mhm.
personally, I believe the reason therapy is pushed too much because we have more single parent household than ever before. So
Mhm.
if I have an issue, if I don't have my dad in the house and I run to my mom, she's busy trying to figure out how many hours she's going to take on to provide for me and my siblings. Yet if she was busy, she could literally tell me, go talk to your dad about that. But if
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
dad is not in the house, guess
Mhm.
what? If I can't talk to my mom, now I'm going to grow up with all this trauma, right?
Mhm.
And then I haven't learned how to communicate to my mom, which means chances are I'm never going to be so good at communicating with women when I grow up. And then the cycle keeps repeating itself. So would you say the reason we have, which I believe, the reason we have so much need for therapy is because it would start in the house, but because of single parent households, you know, that's where we are.
Believe it or not, I actually think the starting point for all people, but specifically boys and men when they're younger and children, is their fathers and life coaches. I actually think life coaches are a good first start for getting people to see what's going on in their lives, helping them to reach their goals and aspirations, having someone that constantly is pushing them and motivating them and supporting them when times get rough. And then when they're seeing that there's some mental health issues, when there's some more serious things going on that a life coach wouldn't be as experienced or credentialed to deal with, that's when a recommendation I think would be warranted for them to potentially meet with a mental health specialist, whether it's a therapist, psychologist, or social worker.
Okay, so that makes sense, right?
Mhm.
The father, even coaches, in
Mhm.
schools, like somebody you can really. talk to, tell all your issues when you're still a kid, even teachers. But
Mhm.
teachers have so much on their plates. They
Yeah.
have their own kids, and if the kid wasn't taught how to respect and talk to adults, the
Mhm.
kid is probably going to disrespect the teachers. So even teachers are giving up, right? So with
Mhm.
this, because personally, I believe the reason women try to push therapy, 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 this, therapy, that, the one thing they always talk about is men don't like to open up. Men
Mm.
have no one to, because when you tell them, I had a lady ask me, who do you talk to when you're going through issues? I'm like, I talk to my dad if I can't solve it, right?
Yeah.
If I can't solve the issue, if I need plans to solve the issue, I'll talk to him to ask him how to solve this issue. Because for ladies, we know they love to talk. It's not that they want solutions. They want to talk and talk about this. My friend at work and my friend here, and then I watch the Kardashians, and then this, and then Trump. They like to talk about a whole different, topics without
Mhm.
really finding a solution. But as men, we like to find, okay, you have an issue, let's solve the issue. If it's just, banter and going back and forth, that's fine.
Mhm.
So women like men to talk, but it seems like the more men have been opening up, especially on these YouTube street social media.
Mhm.
So women were saying men don't like to open up. They don't like to be, what's the word they use? They don't like to be vulnerable.
Mhm.
Then men come to social media.
Mhm.
Men open up. Women are not doing this. Women are very, combative. Women have bad attitude. Women are too superficial. Women have crazy delusional standards. Guess what? The women
Mhm.
decide to say, oh, you hate women.
Mhm.
Oh,
Mhm.
you're broke and dusty. Oh, if you're broke, just say that. If you can't afford me. So it's like men finally opened up,
Mhm.
telling their issues they have dating women. But guess what? Men were met with the biggest amount of pushback ever. So should
Yeah.
men really, do women really want men to open up? Like what do you think about that?
Yeah, I actually think a large percentage of these women who are telling men publicly and privately that they need to open up more, they mean he should open up and tell them things that they want to hear. They don't actually mean him telling them things that they don't want to hear about themselves. That's actually what a lot of women are actually saying. Oh, I want you to communicate more. I want you to open up. I want you to share what you're thinking, what's going on, until he says it and it's something you don't like that's about you. That's actually the truth. And how do we know this? Because most men say the reason why I shut down or stopped doing it is because when I've done it, I was punished. She lashed out. She went quiet. She cursed. She yelled. She cried. And then they get such a visceral negative reaction every time they try to open up about what's going on. She has no problem. Probably most of them probably have no problem with you opening up about issues at work, issues with other people. But if the issue is her or her actions or her behaviors or her comments, then they interpret that as an attack. And people say, I don't know about that. Well, what did you just say? When we as men get on these microphones on podcasts and say out loud what men are going through, we're not even talking about an individual woman specifically. We're just saying what our experiences are in general. They interpret it as an attack. So the reality is, both publicly and privately, the reality is most women, no matter how emotionally intelligent they believe themselves to be, um, most of them aren't actually the greatest listeners. And they, in terms of emotional regulation, that usually isn't always their strong suit when they're being told something that they don't want to hear. So unfortunately, we're in an environment where you have a large pool of people, women, who are claiming and stating that men need to open up more. And the assumption is that this large pool of women, or all of them that are saying this, are emotionally mature and have been trained or prepared on how to be able to handle a man's emotions, as well as be able to respond well when he's telling them something about themselves that they do not want to hear. I don't have that assumption based off of what I've seen in therapy, based off of what I've seen in my regular everyday life, and based on what I've seen on social media. Most people don't do an excellent job of hearing things that they don't want to hear about themselves, let alone women.
That's completely true. Because, so do you think men should just keep speaking up even if they're going to be shut down? because I'm not saying all women. We have, as you can see,
Mhm,
there's a lady here.
mhm,
She's saying women get upset and attack the men for opening up.
mhm,
So what should men do? Because like I said, it goes back to men want solutions.
mhm.
Okay, if men open up, women talk them off. Obviously, not all women,
Yeah.
but what should men do then? And it's even actually, I'm going to ask you two-part questions. What should men do? Because every time they open up, they get shut down. They called all sorts of names because women finally realized men have been thinking these things for so long. Men finally
Mhm,
have standards. How dare you have standards for me? I'm the prize,
mhm,
because that's what they all say, right?
mhm,
And then, and I'm going to two-part question. The second one is they claimed, and RIP to the GOAT, Kevin Samuels, they claimed he was too harsh when he spoke up.
mm,
They claimed
mm,
he was mean. They claimed he was, they called him all sorts of names. They celebrated his death, right? And here comes, and the reason I'm bringing up Kevin Samuels, because you've been compared to him, right? But then
mhm,
here comes brother Jeff, very, very eloquent, right? Very compassionate in the way he talks to the ladies, very, nice and sweet. You kind of cater to their feelings. I'm not going to lie, right?
mhm,
And
mm,
then you speak so with such kindness, like it comes from a good place.
mm.
You're not harsh. That's what women usually told Kevin Samuels, that he's being too harsh, he's being too mean. And guess the first thing they do once you come up, once you go viral? Oh, he's not a therapist for real. They don't
Mhm,
even listen. Like they make all these kind of faces when you're speaking up, when you put the mirror in their face. They now, okay, we have a guy who speaks so nicely.
mhm.
So what's the way forward? Because looks like being mean is not good, but also
Yeah,
being straightforward and kind is not good enough.
yeah. Yeah, so the starting point when it comes to meet if men started actually meeting with therapists, men and women, who are a little bit more nuanced and able to understand male issues and male perspectives. These are therapists who probably market themselves that way. So they'll easily stand out from the average therapist. They will teach you how to better communicate with the women that you're doing life with, and you'll actually start to learn some strategies and techniques that are extremely helpful. I'm not going to spoil it too much because I'm actually going to do an episode this week where and the episode is going to be titled How to Stop Debating and Arguing with Women, where I'm going to go through 4 or 5 steps where step by step, a lot of traps and mistakes that men make when we're talking to women is what ultimately results in why the conversation ends up going nowhere and and even ends up escalating. But one thing that I will say with it is if you go to someone else first, like a man or a woman who's trained to help you to better communicate with women, that's always a good first step. Don't assume that the woman that you're doing life with tends to do and handle these things well. And one of the ways that you can kind of test this theory out to see how well she could be with hearing things that perhaps aren't super favorable is seeing how she responds when you make a comment about another woman or women in general and it's not positive. So, not about her specifically, but about women. Like you see something on social media, a celebrity, there's always random things that can be talked about. You're going to look to see how she reacts and responds to that because it's broad, it's general, it's not personal. And we're going to see if she's a little bit more open, if she's a little bit more flexible, or if she's very rigid and sticking with the sisterhood. Because that's a really easy sign of, oh, you might be dealing with a covert feminist who always is going to defend women's actions no matter what. If you look at it through that lens, you'd be like, all right, now I see what I'm working with here. Now, personally, I probably now that I know what I know about how this behavior manifests and how bad it is to try to change and alter, I, I I'm gonna cut the cord very early with that personally. But that's just one technique where you can kind of see early on if she's even. It's almost like testing the waters to see how much depth she actually does or doesn't have emotionally. And when you do that, you'll pretty much get this. You'll pretty easily see like, yeah, if she's reacting this strongly to me saying that what Cardi B did was foul, cheating on a man while she's pregnant, and she's like, well, you don't know what she went through. Oh, wait a minute. This is one of the most disgusting things that a woman could ever do in the course of humanity, and you're coming up with excuses to get skirt around accountability for her. If she's going to excuse something like that for somebody she don't know and doesn't know her, what do you think she's going to do with you when you try to point out something she actually did in your relationship or interaction with her? Right. So that's one thing that I think a lot of guys, and again, it almost makes sense where it's like, if you just observe them on social media and things are trending, how influenced is she by the women around her? How influenced is she if you find out little things about her girlfriends and her girlfriend keys somebody's car or was stalking some dude at his job, whatever, and ask her like, man, isn't that crazy? What do you think about that? Like, is that just your homegirl? Like, you think, did you tell her anything? What you say to her? Like, did you tell her like that's crazy? No, she's just going through a lot right now. Whoa, that again, like the a lot. What I'm realizing is a lot of us as men, we ignore all these red flags, and then we wait until it's time to tell her something difficult, and are shocked when it's like a bomb explodes in a relationship. They're usually telling on themselves way before we get to the point where we have to share something with them that's very personal. The way they live, the way they carry themselves, the behaviors that they ignore, that's negative, the things that they kind of downplay, that's bad within their own friend groups or population with other women. These are things you can start paying attention to long before you get to the point where you're actually quote unquote opening up about actual things that can actually hurt you.
Man, you just literally talked about exactly what most guys go through, but
Mhm.
also there's even um, a small video I wanted to play exactly what you said is that what the guy was saying, because
Mm.
you're gonna have so-called good women,
Mhm.
and but their friend groups are feminists. So chances are, even if she's a good girl, but
Mhm.
the friends groups that, because you're gonna get in a relationship. Once you guys have issues, guess who she's gonna
Mhm.
run to for advice? The feminist friends,
Mhm.
right?
And
Because
who are they going to lean with? Who are they going to always defend? Her.
her. So
Yep.
she's never gonna hold herself accountable.
Mhm.
So you said, so you're pretty much saying men should kind of give them a test on
Yes.
just normal things to see.
Yeah.
But that sounds, I'm gonna be honest, but that sounds like men gonna have to vet maybe like 1,000 women.
No. I mean, believe it or not, it gets easier when you know what you're looking for up front. So for me, I start realizing that they got a uniform that they tend to wear. They tend to treat makeup a certain way. They tend to post certain things on social media. They tend to have a certain cohort of women around them that acts a certain way. Once you start seeing these things, you might not even make it to the date. You may not even ask them out. So once you start seeing all these spheres of influence and how much they're influenced, that's telling you how much work it's going to be to try to get her to start becoming a much more objective and balanced thinker. And you're like, if you're the type of guy like I've arrived to, you stamp that out early and be like, nope, that's a done deal. If she's arguing with other men on social media, dead on arrival. DOA, RIP. I'm not even that's not happening. I'm just not doing it. And this is another great one. When you ask her about her past and her relationships, how much time and energy and how much is emotional stock is she putting into men and talking about and describing and discussing men from the past who she's no longer with when she's supposed to be entertaining you? If her whole emotions start getting all crazy and she starts going crazy about her exes, you think she's gonna be calm with you? And she's reacting that way with men who she hasn't dealt with in 6 months to a year plus. Come on, like, so what I'm saying is that's actually emotional intelligence. A lot of the emotional intelligence for men is what we need to be practicing up front, not actually while we're with them. I mean, of course, you still need it when you're with them, but if we actually improved our emotional intelligence and screening process beforehand, be it beyond the fact that she looks good and the sex is good, we would know whether or not she's more than likely a woman that's worth opening up to and actually discussing these things with.
Man, that's that's good advice. Um, but I was gonna say that I think the issue most guys run into,
Mm,
because you mentioned emotional intelligence. I'm gonna be honest, this is personal to me. I hate women who mention emotional intelligence
mhm.
so many times, oh, I want a man who's emotionally intelligent. So the assumption is you're probably emotionally intelligent as well, if that's the kind of person you want. But how are you emotionally intelligent when you got three kids by three different men? Like, where's that emotional? Why didn't you? Anyway, that's it.
No,
That's a
no,
good.
no. Listen, I'm actually going to respond to that piece. Whether it's any positive, I'm going to say something, and I see why now I keep going viral because I keep saying things that I honestly do legitimately believe.
Yeah,
Very, very few women um identify with negative attributes. They only point out anything that's a positive attribute they attribute to themselves and other women. They don't identify with the things that's negative. You'll even see this when they go on a date with a guy and the date was boring. They don't say like, "Oh, hey girl, how did the date go?" "Ah, it didn't go well." "Well, what happened? How was the guy?" Or what was the interaction? What went down? And she's like, you know what they tend to say? "He was boring." They don't say, "Oh, I was boring." You're never going to hear, you're never going to hear a woman, even when she says, "Oh, I was bored." That's an indication that he wasn't doing something. So it takes a while, and it usually takes some years. It usually takes some life hitting them, Father Time, Mother Nature to kind of come, and then before you know it, when they start to hit that wall, that's the beginning stage for a lot of them, where they actually can start to be much more open and honest about their negative things that they brought into relationships. This is why they'll describe all their exes as toxic and not themselves. This is why everybody, when life doesn't work out with them, they say they're the narcissist, not they themselves are narcissists. So a lot of women, not all, of course, but a huge percentage of them, if you're going in and out of relationships and not having very successful ones, and your perspective is it's because of the men and not because of the men you pick, and they say, "Well, I'm single by choice." No, you're single because of your choices. So the reality is even then you can start to get a glean as to when she's saying emotional intelligence, is she meaning both of us having better forms of communication, or is she actually meaning you telling me what it is that I like and want to hear? And that you listen to me whenever I want to talk about anything, even if it doesn't mean anything or if it's not even true. Like that's when you start get asking enough questions and listening enough, and then seeing how they judge interactions with other people, you get to a place where you start realizing, man, y'all, a lot of y'all are a lot. There's a reason why a lot of y'all are struggling in your 20s and 30s and potentially 40s, and you can't say it's the whole other male species. Maybe it's a combo of you keep picking dudes that you know aren't good for you. You love the charisma. You want the man that everybody else wants. You ignore the red flags. You got this woman's intuition, but it's always broken. How do you have multiple kids by multiple men? You go into Planned Parenthood left and right because it's Tuesday appointments left and right, but this woman's intuition, like between emotional intelligence, narcissism, woman's intuition, all these talking points don't really mean anything if your outcomes don't reflect that you have those things. How are you emotionally intelligent if you've been dating for 15 years and you've been unsuccessful? I'm gonna be honest with you, man. Like, think of it this way: if you had a year, sorry, if you had a decade, if you had 15 years, if you had 10 years to take a test, and you've gotten to take the test multiple times, and you still ain't passed, where do you get off saying that it's everybody else that's not emotionally intelligent? Maybe you don't have, maybe your woman's intuition is just a trauma response. Maybe you really don't know nearly what you think you know in terms of the opposite sex and what they're actually looking for in you. Maybe you do need to ask a male's opinion, like your father, about how to better screen men, because you're not a man and you're picking the wrong men. Instead, it's easier to say the men just need to become more emotionally intelligent. The men need to get better. The men need to communicate better. Well, maybe you need to understand how men communicate. Maybe your mate selection strategies is trash, and you need to be much more open to the possibility that you don't know what you're doing. I've never seen like, only in dating can you get away with getting all the wrong answers and think that you're still the expert and right. If you were supposed to have arrived an hour ago and you've been driving for 10 days to still get to the destination that you didn't get to, you don't get to say that you know where you're going or what you're doing. So it's when I say these things, it's not because it's a little crass, it's a little funny, but I'm actually more serious about the concern of what ladies are doing to themselves through this process. They're hurting themselves. They're destroying and wrecking their emotional health. They're increasing their chances of getting anxiety and depression and getting put on psychiatric medication. They're ending up lonely when they don't want to be. I don't like it. I make these jokes facetiously because it's entertaining, but y'all don't know what y'all doing. And it's okay to admit that. But listen to the life coaches that don't know what they doing either. And listen to the influencers who are living lifestyles and they're just trying to sell you a hope and a dream. Like y'all, like I'm actually coming through the lens of saying like maybe there's a unique perspective that the ultra extreme feminists who don't have the lives you even want anyway. Maybe there's another perspective that's on the other side of the aisle that's actually a little bit more helpful. And you don't have to quote unquote center men to care about men's feelings and men's views on things. Because when you don't care what men want, that's how you end up alone and ran through.
Yo, bro, like I've been saying this for so long, and the way you just put it, well, you do a better job than me. But for me, there's you literally painted something I've been talking about recently. I'm like, imagine a woman is approached, for all purposes of being legal. A woman
Mhm,
is approached from the time she turns 18.
mhm,
So you're telling me right now you are age 45. So you have had different men, tall men, rich men, broke men, street dudes, good dudes, bad boys, nice guys, church guys, all types of different men approach you from the time you are 18 to the
mhm.
time you are 45.
Yeah.
And you couldn't find one single nice guy, one single good guy.
Mm,
So I always tell guys, and my message is probably different from yours.
mhm,
So I've been telling guys that recently, when you meet a woman, and I'm talking about age 30, 35 and onwards,
mhm,
chances are everything you're going to do for her, she has met a guy who did the same exact things for her.
mhm.
Maybe
Or
she met
less,
a guy who's richer than you.
or
She met a
less.
guy who's taller than you.
Mhm.
So ask yourself, how come she couldn't keep those guys? And what makes you think she's gonna keep you? Like, what do you think you're gonna? Are you gonna give her $100 million? You think that finally she's gonna want you? Ask yourself if this woman has been dating for 20 years
Mm,
and she couldn't find one good guy, and you think you're gonna be the Prince Charming? And
yeah.
then I hate when they keep asking God to send them a good guy. And I'm like, do you think God is dumb? God is just gonna keep sending you good guys. You misuse them, you dump them, and he's just gonna he has a store for you of good guys. He's gonna keep sending you. Like,
Yeah.
if I was God, I wouldn't keep sending you good men either. Like that
I'm
doesn't
gonna
make
be
any sense.
it's cool. You know what's crazy? First of all, I don't think it's God sending them these guys to begin with. And number two, why would God in that season of your life when you kept picking those types of men that weren't good, why would God be sending you the good men if you keep wanting the men that aren't? If your track record is that you're picking a-holes and bums and dudes that aren't good guys, and then you have to wait till you go through that transitional period of time. And we know that the end of a 304 life is a woman of God. That's the time when you decide, all right, now it's time for me to be a good woman. And now I think I'm ready to be a good guy. You didn't want the good guy. You didn't want the nice guy. So the reality is like you didn't deserve it because that's clearly not what you wanted. And a lot of you didn't want that. Especially during the time period where all the men that you ignored that were that you ignored. Like if you're putting them in their friend zone, that means they're good enough to be your friend and they're good enough for you to have some type of platonic relationship with. But they weren't good enough for you to be attracted to or start and establish a family with. Those were your good guys. Those are your good guys. Because these ain't guys that you just say, "Oh, I decline," and you don't talk with them no more. You see value in how he treats you, but you only see the value from a friendship. He's not attractive enough. He doesn't tap into certain emotions. He doesn't excite you. So now the good guy is over here in the cut. The guys that excite you, you keep picking them. So what I'm saying is I'm not saying that women want to be mistreated. I think they want to ignore the good guys, pick the guy that's rough around the edges or has certain issues, and try to change him into becoming a good guy. That's what I actually think is happening. But the problem is, women, y'all can't change men. And again, a man would have told you that. But you're basing these major life decisions in terms of your womb, your emotions, your body, your mental emotional health, primarily off of vibes, feelings, and astrology. And what time of the month you was born, and whether he a Virgo or a Leo or this or that. That's what you basing major life decisions on. So I'm like, y'all don't really want a good guy. You want a guy that's questionable at best, if not a bad guy, and you want him to be good for you. Like, you clearly don't want good guys, because y'all all got male friends. Y'all all got good guys, and they stay friends for a reason, because you don't actually want them.
I mean, it's crazy to me. Like single by choice, and women like to say I'm single by choice.
Mm-mm.
But and then when you ask them what kind of man do you want? Tall, rich, this and this. And you're like, okay, if you're single by choice, if God gave you that the kind of man you want right now, would you take him? They're like, yeah, I would take him. So clearly you're not single by choice. You're single because the type of man you want doesn't
Mm-hmm.
want you, because they always focus on, I want men to do this and this and this. But even if you meet the good guy, what makes you
Mm-hmm.
think he's gonna want you back? And obviously, I think this comes from, if they didn't teach you how to date. Because
Yeah.
personally, I believe relationships are a skill. The same way and you've talked about this on different shows. I
Yeah.
remember you, word for word, you said they invest so much time, the same time they invest in getting degrees, in getting the skills to get a job, they could at least invest half the time in, gaining relationship skills, half the time in listening
Mhm.
to men, half the time in looking in the mirror, half the
Yeah.
time realizing that, okay, I have such a long list of expectations for men, but
Mm-hmm.
chances are they have expectations for me. The
Yeah.
only issue is, obviously, for the most part, men don't speak up. Men don't have as many choices as options, which is really going to segment into the next question I had for you.
Mm-hmm.
We live in a time of single moms. But Jeff, honestly, the
Mm-hmm.
chances are, if a man is 30 plus, the chances are he's gonna run into a single mom. Should men just really give up and date single moms, since sounds like that's the majority? Should men just, because there are three types of men, in my opinion. There's a type, and I think I have someone in the chat, King Breeze. King Breeze just
Mm-hmm.
literally talked about it. Should men just give up? There's a type of men who are giving up on dating and relationships.
Mm-hmm.
There's a type that has hope. They're hoping if Jeff talks to the ladies, they will understand. They're hoping if she gets 45, she will be old and less options. Maybe she'll give me a chance. There's that type of man. And obviously, there's a type of man who, getting on the plane,
Mm-hmm.
trying different countries, different cultures.
Mm-hmm.
So, should men really just go for the single moms? Like, at this point, what should men do?
Oh yeah, and I hope in September I'm going to try to. I have it on the list. I have an episode that's going to be coming up in September about the pros and cons of dating single mothers, and if it's a good deal or bad deal. And I won't spoil it too much, but I will say is it's tough, because obviously it comes with some risk, right? It comes with the risk of getting attached to children that are not biologically yours. And if the relationship doesn't work, you have no rights. Number two, having to deal with the consequences of entering a situation where the child may not see you or ever see you as their parent or as their father. Number three, by default, especially from early on from the beginning, the most important person to her when she's first interacting and dealing with you, even when you first get in a relationship, is not you. It'll be her child. So these are just natural dynamics that men who are going to do it are going to have to acknowledge as this really strong possibility. On top of that, you have to factor in what happens if you are given the ability to sign over custody or sign up for custody and actually take these kids as your own, and then the relationship doesn't work. You signed up to be with a woman and took on the custody of those children, and then the relationship don't work, and now you're paying child support for a child that was not even biologically yours. So not to mention if the father is still here and present and he has a role to play, and another man gets to dictate when and how often you get to see your significant other and the kids, and it's a lot of things that kind of comes with that you do have to factor in. Now, that doesn't mean, this is my argument when I am going to do this episode, when I'm talking about this situation and to those ladies specifically, I'm going to tell women, if you are a single mother, your attitude, your femininity, and how you carry yourself, because of where you are in the pecking order, what men primarily desire, should be the best in terms of behavior, not the worst. You should be the least entitled. You can have standards. You can have self-respect, of course. But because you're bringing other things that are now considered to strike against you from a just general objective standard, it's your responsibility to be even more feminine, even more soft, even more agreeable, even more willing to work with a man's program, because you're not coming in with no debt. You're coming in with kids. You're coming in with extra expenses. If there's two women and they look identical in terms of beauty, they're both drop dead gorgeous, and one of them has $200,000 in student loan debt. They got a car note that they can barely afford. They have a bad attitude. And then there's another one who has little to no debt, no car, but is very sweet and kind. Which one do you think I'm picking? Pretty obvious, right? Well, the one that got the debt, she got a degree and she makes her own money. What that mean? And they look identical. Now let's add a little flavor to this example. What if the one who has all the debt and the bad attitude and all this extra baggage and stuff that comes with her, she's a 9 or 10 in beauty, and the other woman is a 6 or adjustable 7, but she's kind, she's feminine, she's supportive, she's willing to help. Again, any man worth his salt is going to pick the 6 or 7. This is why you hear these women say all the time, how she end up with him? How she get him? He could have done better than that, because all y'all looking at is the external and these credentials of things that men ain't even checking you for. Your attitude gets you places. Your mouth gets you indoors or kicks you out of doors. So your mouth, your attitude, your femininity, your submissiveness, your softness, and your willingness to trust him supersedes and will, in America, you could have 1 or 2 children. And if you're excellent in those areas, men will still take you. Men will still pursue you. Men will still want you. You cannot have other issues and baggage that other women don't, and be struggling and failing in those very areas that will help you to be more attractive to the opposite sex. So for me, that's my lens, is that she just has to be willing to lead in all of those things and really, really make it like this is what she's known for: being soft, being friendly, being feminine, being supportive. Like that, there's no way you're gonna have a bad attitude and be carrying having other men's children. And I'm dealing with baby mama, baby daddy drama. That's just not even a possibility. So for the men that are at least open to it, you just need to lead in the very things that many other women who are single, childless, don't even have all the baggage or stuff that you're bringing with you, but their attitude is nasty and they're entitled. she gonna stand out. So that's one. Now you mentioned there's other options for men. Yeah, you're right. There's men that can just be like, nope, I'm not dating baby mamas. That's their right. Just like there's baby mamas that will or won't date men who have children. I think it's delusional when you have a child of your own and you say that that you won't deal with you won't deal with the opposite sex who has children. I personally think we should start supporting blended families. I think if a woman has children, and a man has children, they need to be linking up and putting these blended families together, versus trying to take people who have never been parents before and put that onto them. I think single parents have a unique perspective that they can both understand what compromise looks like. They know what time management looks like. They know what working and collaborating with other people's schedules looks like. I I think that we need to actually push single parents closer together if they couldn't do it right with the original biological parents of the uh, parents of the children that they had, who they had it with. So I actually would personally push that. And then lastly, in regards to what are the men that are, obviously you can go to other cultures or other countries to find women. These men that are sitting here in the US and have made a volitional decision to be a genetic dead end. That's their right. That's their choice. Um, for me, it's hard to believe that I'm maximizing and becoming all that I could come, all that I can become, if the idea of family and legacy um, just wasn't something I cared to focus on. It's hard for me to believe that I really lived life to the fullest. Now, does that mean that I need to do it in America? No. Does that mean I need to get married to the state? No. You could adapt and find a whole host of creative ways to do this. But this idea that you're just going to live your life and this is my thing, man. If I'm critiquing the ultra far left extremist third and fourth wing feminists because of the way in which they disparage men, put all men in one box and say we're all bad and everything about masculinity is evil and wrong and bad. And I'm saying that's problematic and it's not true and it's not accurate and it's not reality. These men that are walking around and saying that what they're seeing on social media and how a lot of women act in these urban cities is a reflection of all women everywhere. It's just not real. It's just not true. Like when we get these stereotypes of the black community and they say that all of us is thugs and gangsters. We know that ain't true. We know that ain't true. We Even those of us who work in the hood might know one or two people who may fall into that category. And the overwhelming majority of your cousins, your family, your friends, and most people you know, they're not. Like, take the prison population and compare it to the actual population of black males. You know how small of a percentage that is? That's not involved in criminal lifestyle. But the stereotype is all black men are blah, blah, blah. So when you do that, when they do that to us as men in general, the feminists, it's crazy. So why would you do your own version of that when talking and thinking about women? All women aren't walking around saying they're a 10. All women aren't walking around and saying, I don't care what men want or need. He just needs to serve me and put me on a pedestal. What you're listening to is the algorithm. The algorithm rewards those who gets the eyeballs on social media and on these streaming sites and on these movies and these reality shows. A lot of people aren't interested in terms of entertainment. A lot of people aren't interested in watching shows that's healthy, like content that's healthy. A lot of people don't want to do it. They want to see the shock value, the people screaming, the hollering, the cussing people out, throwing stuff. That's what gets the traction. So if the loudest, most crass, most bombastic women that's acting the worst are the ones that's always being put on the platforms, always the loudest ones on social media, you're going to convince yourself that it's all women, even all American women. Now, is it bad in America? Yes, it is. I'll be honest with that. I would say, though, there's regions and areas and there's different things that you could start to pay attention to to kind of screen and get better results. One, her relationship with social media. What does she display? Does she even have social media? There's women that don't be on social media like that. They barely ever post, maybe not even have anything on it. Like those women may already be significantly different than all the women around them that have these social media accounts where they on every day posting, 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 posting. And she didn't be she was like, I don't really care about social media like that. Whoa, she stands out. She's different. You'd be like, oh, well, where is she regionally in the city, in the country? If she's in an urban city that's very left leaning, it's highly likely that she's going to think like many of the feminists. But if you find a woman that maybe is from the Midwest, from down south in different pockets, she may get turned off and not even want to be friends with a lot of those types of women. She may have some traditional values and sees the value of men still. Those women exist. The women all around the world, there's different conservative countries and cultures. Like this is real. But my issue is those women are there and they exist and you don't know it. And the reason you don't know it is because you haven't put the work in to start growing as a man in terms of travel, networking, building yourself up, becoming more confident, and realizing that there's a whole. You do know that men that are doing really well in life, they're not having debates and arguments with ratchet women. They're not that's not a thing. The women who have class gravitate towards them, and they can recognize those women instantly. These women know how to behave in front of these men. Even to get access to these men and be in the certain spaces. What I'm saying is men just have, I'm not saying put this work in and become the best version of yourself to get a woman. I'm saying do this because for the sake of your purpose and your identity, you feel better, you'll live better, you'll choose better. And the quality of women you'll get to choose from, that's just will be the added bonus in life. So for me, it's unfortunate that so many men that's pumped with testosterone and make good money or doing really well in life and can do better and be better are being couch potatoes and just giving up on life. I'm not telling you in the American family court system to get married and get destroyed in family court and get half your assets taken from you. I'm not telling you to do that. I'm not telling you to knock up some ratchet woman, knock up this baby mama that got 2 kids and give her a third kid, and now you really screw. I'm not telling you to do that either. What I am saying is don't look at life as something that's impossible and that you've given up and you've allowed those that are the winners to be the only ones that get to enjoy the game. Like what I'm saying is there's so many of you that's not competing. It's actually not as hard as you think to stand out. And when you stand out, you actually get better options and better results. So if I didn't go to school and get this degree and I was complaining about how I'm working at dead end jobs and barely making $20,000 a year, it was like, yeah, but if you go and get the degree, then you can make 5 times that. Yeah, but I'm just going to give up, man. I'm not going to try. I'm like, yeah, but hold on. But you hear me? You're going to make 5 times that if you put the work in, get the degree or get the certification. You're going to make $100,000 a year 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now. It's so hard though, man. It's not fun. I'm just not, that's how y'all sound. There are benefits on the other side of the work that you need to do. But if you're just going to say how expensive everything is and how hard everything is, then you deserve what you get. No, I didn't act this way my whole life. No, I wasn't always 6 feet tall. No, I didn't speak the way everybody thinks I speak now. No, I didn't carry myself a certain way. I weighed about 30, 40 pounds less than I do now coming out of high school. And I got different results back then. So it takes time. And I'm like, fellas, man, if y'all really look at things through the lens of, even if you look at it from an economic standpoint, if you want more money, you got to do something different. So it's the same way it saddens me with women who are making really sad and problematic decisions that aren't leading towards the outcomes they want and leading them towards anxiety and depression. It actually saddens me that there are men who were blessed with testosterone, blessed with opportunity, physical attributes. They have these things and they have this, and they just nix it all and say, it's not worth it. Like it's frustrating because I believe that there's so much potential in both sexes. And doing this type of work, man, I hope that I can kind of help motivate men and women to just be better versions of themselves, not to get with each other, but just become healthier people. And that if you do, you know, you one of the benefits is that you're going to be surrounded by healthier people and you're going to get to choose better as a result.
Man, that was a word, guys. That was true. It really takes hard work, and I believe why um there's a big group of men who are giving up, whether it's self-improvement or things like that, because they didn't grow up with a dad seeing it. Like they didn't grow up with a seeing a dad telling them, go work, you a
Mm-hmm.
man, struggle, put in the effort, you know, delayed gratification, things like that. You only saw your mom. Your mom is never going to tell you how to be a man and how to chase
Mm-hmm.
your goals and keep persevering. But I'm going to push back, and I'm pushing back because my subscribers told me to push back. Right?
Okay.
There's a guy who said, well, some men are saying you are giving hope, which is good hope, holding women accountable, holding men accountable, but they're
Mm-hmm.
saying that you are literally I even wrote it down. You are letting men walk into a burning building. That's number one.
Mm-hmm.
We talk about, oh, there's some good women out there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna play a video because I think this guy also talks about the same thing. How um it's tough. It's not easy to figure out who is a good woman, who's not. So give
Sure.
me 1 second. Let me play this, and then to give the context.
I'm a woman. So what you saying?
I said women don't like dudes who got their own, who don't need them. They rather deal with men who are not that intellectually aggressive, who gonna let them say what they want and do what they want. They rather deal with a man like, not saying you like that, but most women out here don't want to deal with a man who gonna say, baby, nah, don't wear that. Nah, baby, don't talk like that. They don't really want to deal with that. They rather deal with a dude who let them say and do whatever they want to do. And they think if a man be a man, he's toxic.
So my question was, do you fuck with a real woman?
Let me answer that question.
And the reason why I asked
I'm
is
listening.
because if you fuck with a real woman, she's going to agree with you. Hey, maybe I shouldn't step outside wearing
I
this,
respect that,
this
baby. So
nasty ass shit.
Let me answer that. This is the problem. The real woman is standing too close to the hose, so we don't know the difference until we start talking to y'all. No, listen. I met a lot of women. It don't mean, I don't care if they from the hood. I don't care if they got two parents. Their interests are the same. It's like right now, right? If you see 10 lions coming down the street, are you gonna try to figure out which lion gonna bite your ass or not? You're gonna be like them 10 lions. So unfortunately, the real woman agree with too much shit that these hoes is on, so we don't know the fucking difference.
All right, Jeff. Now
Mm-hmm.
the real women are too close to the crazy ones. Men
Mm-hmm.
don't know the difference. How a man supposed to choose? Like we talked about, even the good ones have feminist friends. So are you really telling men to walk into a burning building? Because eventually,
Mm-hmm.
that's what some men believe, and that's why some guys have stopped dating. They're like, you know what? Eventually, even if she pretends for 10 years, she could pretend she's the best woman, and
Mm-hmm.
then before you know it, she takes my kids, she takes my house, and things like that.
Yeah, it's totally fine if you don't want to include kids in the scenario. If you just decide, all right, well, I'll deal with women, but I won't have kids, then that's one less thing you got to worry about. Number two, depending on the country and culture, you can. We have to get to a place as men where we stop operating out of a place of scarcity when it comes to women. The better that you build up yourself, the more that you realize that the pool of women that you're choosing from is not only in the US. This is a global dating market. So stop behaving as if it is. These women, long before, stop treating it like the only men that they're going to entertain is the men that's right in front of their face that lives around their neighborhood. They'll deal with any man that hits them up on social media or these dating apps from anywhere around the country or world. So when are you as men gonna start to realize the same rules can apply for you too? First of all, You were born in second place as a man. You want to know why? Because you were born in America. So what's this global competition between you and all these men around the world? You were born on second base already. You just got to do a little bit more work to move up a little further than that. So let's start with the obvious part. Okay, America is burning. The building is on fire. All right. The family court system in America is not fair to men. So you going to be abstinent or never deal with women ever? Or you going to put yourself in a position to deal with women that you think you can pull from better pools? Like, when I say a scarcity mindset, man, y'all are looking at this stuff through the lens of, I'm walking into a street and there's 8 stores to choose from, and you're convincing yourself there's only one store you're allowed to shop from. There's 8 stores, and you keep going to store 1 that has all the inferior products that's problematic and always breaks down. There's 7 other stores to choose from, and you keep going to store 1. So when all these other guys are dating out of their race, dating out of their culture, dating out of their countries, because they're putting themselves in more advantageous positions, and you're like, well, I just won't play. You're right. You don't want to have hope. You want to see another, you don't want to be smart enough and logical to adapt to this situation. You just want to complain. You want to say all is bad and all is wrong. Do it. Go ahead. Because you're going to end up in the same place as the ultra feminists and women who can't do life with men. Y'all going to end up in the same place at the same retirement home. Go ahead, do that. Some of us are just trying to give y'all some damn hope to add a little bit of spice to your damn life. If nobody's going to tell you this, I'm not saying that your life isn't meaningful without women. What I am saying is there's a different element of life experience that you can have and can be enjoyable if you stop looking at this through a scarcity mindset. The only women that's available in the world is the ones in America that hate men. Come on, bro. Let's be honest. So that's the first issue. The secondary issue is, to me anyway, the video we just watched, the caliber of not being able to recognize what type of woman we dealing with. Fair. It's OnlyFans is normalized now to some extent. Women dressing more provocatively is more normalized in public and on social media. That's legit. Why are you entertaining any of those women that do that? Why even entertain them? Oh, you forgot that you don't have to? Did you forget that there's women that don't do that? And even what you just said, but what if she has those friends right beside her? Then that's not your girl. She for the streets. She for external validation from other people. You already know, like, the things are, if you've gotten to the black pill mindset, that means you're smart enough to be a really good assessor of what the landscape is in terms of dating and social environment and social interactions between men and women. You're actually an excellent assessor. You can acknowledge that things are really dire here in the States. What I'm disagreeing with is your conclusion about and what to do about it. My stance is put yourself in a position so that you have options in life. If the economy sucks in America and inflation is bad and everybody's complaining about the cost of everything, there's 2 types of people. There's those that's just going to complain about it and just be resolved with staying and saying it is what it is. I'm not going to try to make any more money. I'm just going to, the cost is crazy. I can't get a home. I can't do this. And then there's other guys that's going to do the opposite. The landscape is trash. Inflation is crazy. The cost of living is insane. And I'm going to put the work in to make more money than I ever have before, so that while everybody else is complaining and stuck, I'm going to have options of what additional properties I can buy here and abroad in the next couple years. Same environment, same experience, 2 different mindsets. So if I can buy a home in the next 3, 4, 5 years on an island for a retirement property that I can use as an investment property, and you're still complaining about the cost of living here, but I decided to try to increase my income every year and try to double it between this year and next year, and you still doing the same thing as before, you don't get to complain, bro. I mean, you get to, but you don't get to complain about the results with women, with your money, with your experiences. Don't tell me what's not possible if you open up your mind to the things that I'm kind of describing, bro. That's where I'm coming from. I was born in Philly. I was born in the hood. When we moved to Jersey, I lived in the projects. Now my home is worth more than my parents' home, and I make more money annually than both my parents made combined when I was young in the same state. And I've had to buy a home that's 5 times what they bought the same home for the same type of square footage. So this is why when I believe it was either Joe Rogan or Dana White, they were talking about how there's so many weak men that if you just decide to see life as a competition and a race and you actually start running and competing, you're going to stand out from almost most other men. So no, don't run into the burning building. If you're saying there's too many risks in the US, don't date women in Western countries. In the US, in Canada, in Australia, in the UK, don't deal with them. Don't even deal with them. What about the rest of the planet, bro? What about the rest of the planet? So that's where I'm coming from, personally.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think it's about, I think the good thing, which is different, which something I like about social media, that maybe 10, 15 years ago, the TikToks and women hating men and talking
Mhm.
about, oh, I use this guy for free food. They go on dates, they get their phone. Oh, I use this
Mhm.
guy. Oh, he was boring. Like social media has helped men see
Mhm.
what the actual mindset of women out here is,
Yes,
which
sir.
is so I think men are more equipped. They get the information about what's going on out here with the women. So I think
Yeah.
that's a good thing because now you get to see and you can make a better choice with women. So I do
Yeah.
definitely agree with you that men actually have it easier than men back in the day because we got
Yes.
DNA tests, we got
Yeah.
social media,
Yes.
we got women telling us who they really are. So as a man, you have
Yes.
more things to use to choose.
Yeah.
You can get on the plane. 100 years ago, you couldn't just get on the plane to go to a different country
Yeah.
to find a woman if you want to. So I
Yes.
think men are actually at a more advantage. So
If bro, exactly if you switch the mindset, everything they've shown you, you now have the cheat code. It's like somebody gave you the answer keys to the test and you're still failing the test. They're showing you and telling you so much in this culture about how they see men to where it should be pretty easy to kind of know what type of women you're willing to entertain here or abroad. It should be a lot easier.
yeah, so guys, this is a very busy gentleman. So
Mhm.
I don't know if Mrs. Plum is still in the chat because at least I wanted to give one lady
Mhm.
to come if you have a question. So I'm putting the link down below. You guys got like 5 minutes if you want to call in. Mrs. Plum, if you're still watching, now is your chance. I'm only giving the chance to Mrs. Plum not to be on the camera. If you're a man, I would love you to be on the camera. It's only Mrs. Plum because she's the only lady. I'm a feminist sometimes, so it is what it is. But I'm putting the link down below. If you guys want to call in, you got 5 minutes to do that. And then I'm gonna ask the gentleman a few more questions that you guys sent me. So the link is down below in the comments if you want to call in. And also I've been putting the link down below to his channel. So you guys need to, there's so much content on his channel in such a short time. So you guys need to go to his channel is called Ask a Brother Podcast. It's not the Black Therapist. That's my bad. I have you guys confused. It's Ask a Brother, and you can see it. His channel is literally the name on the screen that you see. Ask a Brother Podcast. That's the name of his channel. But if
Yeah.
you want to call in Mrs. Plum, I don't know if you're still in here. That's the link. Just click the link. I'll see that you're calling in. If you had a question or if you want to talk to him. So there's feedback. Is somebody calling in? No, I don't think so. See. All right, so Jeff,
Hmm.
there is, we have the ladies talking about the six figures. The six figures is going crazy. I
Hmm.
want a six-figure man, and we know they. It's not that they want a guy who is rich. They really want the guy to be able to spend the money on him. Because I always say, just because, um, a man has money, it doesn't mean he's going to get the women. Because they
Hmm.
expect if a man has money and doesn't spend it on the women, he won't keep the woman. So
Yeah.
in the era of women asking about six figures and things like that, and
Hmm.
this study that came out that the average man spends 5,000 to maybe 12,000 a year in a relationship. So we're talking dates,
Hmm.
flowers, trips, sometimes buying her clothes, sending her money for hair, nails, because I believe most trips that couples go to, it's a women initiating those trips, whether she wants to put the videos and photos on Instagram
Hmm.
and things like that.
Hmm.
I believe men spend money in relationships to impress the women,
Yeah.
so with this study, should really the average man keep dating, or should he just, give up dating for some time, maybe invest this money, 5,000 to 12,000 in himself, and maybe later on then date? Like, what's there for the average man if all
Yeah.
women asking for six figures? I believe even women who don't ask quote unquote for six figures
Yeah.
would love a man who makes six figures because they know he's going to spend more money on them. I mean,
Hmm.
like, you already pay your own bills. Why do I
Hmm.
have to get in a relationship with you to pay your bills? They claim the good guy, because personally, this is, I like to break down what women say they want. For me, when I hear a woman saying there are no good men out here, all I
Hmm.
hear, there are no men willing to pay all my bills. What do you think about that?
I actually agree with that to an extent that a lot of women, for whatever reason, have an elevated view now in terms of what it is that they're expecting economically from their male counterparts. Like that's the thing. And to be fair, from a normal gendered standpoint, yeah, of course, like they're not expecting us to give birth to kids. They're expecting us to provide. Like that's what comes with the territory. The issue, of course, as you pointed out, is the sheer amount of money that a lot of them are kind of projecting and putting out there. It is what it is. I know that all of them aren't going to get it. So there's that. So I don't even know that I care nearly as much. So I'll say it this way, man. Regardless of where I was financially or economically, I adjusted to the women that were accepting of where I was financially. Life got a whole lot easier when I dealt with women that was fine with where I was and saw that I was still trying to grow versus trying to get with women that I have to do so much to try to earn the right to be able to earn the right to keep paying for her. What I'm basically saying is happening is as men, you get the opportunity to decide if you're going to entertain a woman, pursue a woman, and learn very early on if you can quote unquote afford to deal with her. And that's fine. If she's saying this is her standard and you're not there yet, that's fine. Like it's not the end of the world. Just move on. Like like you said, not every woman is necessarily looking specifically for six figures, even wanting six figures necessarily. Some women don't mind contributing or splitting household responsibilities. Like there is nuance in this conversation. Now, what I will say is, I am going to throw a number out there, an actual salary that I think, based on the average salary and based on the increased expectations of dealing with women who have a higher likelihood of debt, mortgages, car notes, student loan debt, and other, just normal life of dating and dealing with women, I think $75,000 is the new $50,000. I think $75,000 is an appropriate amount for a normal man to expect to be able to find a woman that he can build a life with. I no longer think 35 to 40 or even $50,000 is sufficient for many, many pockets all along the coastline of America anymore. It's just not. You're barely able to take care of yourself in this economy with that much money. $75,000, I'm going to say, is the minimum standard for men that are trying to be serious about family, leadership, marriage, if they so choose, et cetera, et cetera. I think $75,000. You're close. If you're 68, 65, it is what it is, but you get the gist. I think $75,000 is the new standard that I think each man that wants to should be striving for, whether that's one income or two. I think that's what we got to try to strive as men to do. And because so many other men are making $50,000 or less on average, you're instantly going to be above average. Instantly. And then, believe it or not, you're not that far away from six figures at that point. You know, so it's a situation where if you're making 75 and you link with a woman that is okay with that, and maybe she's working, or she can start helping you to help position you to put you in a position to where you can start to make more money. I'm going to give you guys an example. When my podcast clip went viral last month, July 3rd, and within 48 hours, my wife had bought me a camera for Father's Day, and we hadn't done anything when it was just sitting in the box. We had the camera. She ordered a stand off Amazon. She ordered these lights. She set up this space behind me. She got the equipment. Within 48 hours, she helped me to do this dream of mine so that I can start earning income from my consultations and therapy, and also from the monetization from YouTube. She figured out she saw the need, and she saw how she could help me with the need to help me to make more. If you're making $75,000 or close to it, and you link with a woman who has that mindset, when we say, well, ladies, what are you bringing to the table? She's bringing cooperation. She's bringing a mindset of wanting to help build, to help you grow, so that you can get to a place financially where you can afford everything, versus the mindset of her coming in to take and extract from you. She's coming in and seeing herself and you're seeing her as an asset versus a liability. That's how you should be screening. We don't give a damn about what women talking about, 100,000, 150,000, 200,000. Half of them not going to get it anyway. We don't care. What you should care about is making 75 so you have a little buffer between paying for yourself and being able to afford to be able, different things in life with her. And if you do that, and again, in this economy and in this market, King Breeze just said most people won't make 70K. My brother, the jobs in mass in the US barely pay half of that. I agree 35 ain't enough, but to say 50 can't take care of yourself is definitely a hot take, but to each his own. Y'all got two choices as men. Listen to King Breeze or listen to me. Be satisfied at 50 or figure out what you need to do. Live with the can't or live with the how do I do it. It's mindset. It's mindset. How over the last 5 years, I increased my income by $10,000 every single year in a field that doesn't even pay well. How am I putting myself in a position based off of my wife's help and my own ingenuity to potentially be able to, in this time next year, to double my salary in this economy? How did I get a home that's worth over $500,000 as a therapist? This is what I'm saying. There's men that think like this, and you're entitled to think that way. You're entitled to move that way. If the majority of men and women think like that, it should be easy for those that don't. It's going to require some work. It's going to require 12-hour days. It's going to require your weekends. But guess what? For every guy that's doing that, there's 9 there's not. There's 9 of them that's not. So again, you can't. It's hard. It's difficult. It's so rough. Or how do I do it? And what woman can I find to help me get there and help me continue on with that? Just a thought. So again, what I'm basically saying is the mindset shift that I'm pushing for myself is the mindset shift that I'm trying to snap on with men. I'm not even talking to women when I say this. It's the mindset shift that I'm saying for men, where I'm trying to get you to become more hyper competitive. Looking in the mirror and seeing your greater potential, seeing what you're capable of with women, with money, with networking, with stretching yourself intellectually, with getting new certifications, learning new skill sets. If you're comfortable making 45,000 a year, well, what else? How busy are you? What else are you doing with your time? I know trash truck drivers in certain cities and zones that's making 70, and most trash truck guys is only working in the morning. So what I'm basically saying is yes, it's not easy. It's going to require work, but the guys that do what I'm suggesting, you just get better options. And the beauty of it is now you're not the guy who is just desperate and lucky to get attention. You're going to start to get better options. And then you don't even have to listen to the women that's throwing out these outlandish numbers. Because when you start making that money, the women that's leading with talking about money, you're turned off by them. Under no circumstances, if I'm making six figures or clearing 100, 120, 150, $200,000, is a woman coming out her mouth telling me that I have to make that much to get her respect. Because that tells me the 1 or 2 years prior when I wasn't making that money, you wouldn't have respected me. So now that I have it, why would I want you now? You just told me Jeff from 2 years ago wouldn't be good enough for you. But see, the only way you can think that way is if you start making that more money. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. So again, you can use, and I'm reading the comment right now from King Breeze 3333 or whatever. Keep saying it's impossible, and every man, keep listening to him. Keep listening to him. Keep listening to him. Keep doing it. Keep doing it. Exactly. Keep that mindset. Because I know every single failure has that mindset. Every single guy that's not thinking about growth has that mindset. You know who can't and who it's impossible? Those who are physically disabled. Ain't no able-bodied man can't do more. I see dudes that strapped thin in the most insane situation. I came from the hood. I lived in the projects. Don't tell me. Don't tell me. In America, you gonna say this? You talking about some third world country where 10% of the population is employed? Okay. In a gig economy where you can turn on an app and start making money immediately with Lyft and Uber? Stop it. Stop it. You can get a certification. You can do some IT work on the side. You can learn. You can go to school and learn a trade right now. Please, y'all. What I'm saying to the men specifically, if I'm telling women that they can improve their chances if they adapt, if they learn from their mistakes, if they learn the market of what men really want and they can get better outcomes, I'm saying the same thing to men. Do research and see what pays the most. Who's hiring right now? Where there's a jobbing freeze in areas where the markets aren't doing well. Invest your time in quickly. AI is coming. Maybe you need to learn some stuff about AI. Maybe you need to put yourself in a position where you can work remote and then you can work abroad and live abroad and then you can save more of your money. There is so many things. So again, King Breeze, and as I'm reading him now, you can put his most recent comment up there. What he just say, so now I'm a failure. No, what I'm saying is every man that chooses to maintain that mindset is. So whether or not you're a failure is going to be your choice. I don't even know if you're making $35,000 a year. What I am saying is the men that are content with that, but then simultaneously want to complain and say they can't do anything different or better in America in 2025. Yes, if you want to maintain that mindset, that is your choice. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. I agree with what you're saying. Ask a Brother podcast of a white collar corporate America in the U.S. The biggest issue I deal for black men is being looked down upon and not being able to raise up. That's fair. That there are, inequities. There are challenges. There are shortcomings. Whether it's because you're a woman, because you're black, because you don't have the same experience or the same networking connections. So effing what? So when the men come to me for therapy and consultations, I don't allow you to think like a woman and say that everything that's wrong in life is because of the patriarchy. It's always some system. It's always somebody else to explain why I can't take accountability for the direction of my life and where I am and the choices I made. I'm not talking to women. I'm talking to men.
Facts.
So that's just me personally. That's just me personally. And this the kicker. It's the kicker. What King Breeze just said. And then there you go. Hold on. King Breeze, I make 60 at the post office. You're $10,000 away from what the hell I'm talking about. You can't make another $10,000 on the side right now doing nothing? Stop, bro. Like, what's the college degree that you need to work at the post office that I'm missing? Where's the extra certification and license that you need to make 60K at the post office? This is what I'm talking about. King Breeze could be making 120 in the next 3 to 5 years. If he comes up with a plan, if he gets support, and if he locks in, if he turns on that savage mode, I know King Breeze can do it. King Breeze was smart enough to know how to make 60K without having to go through all the hoops like the rest of us dummies did to take on all that student loan debt. King Breeze, you get what I'm saying? And if King Breeze is at 60 without all these extra student loan debts and all this other stuff, then what does that mean for all the other men that we can do this stuff with?
I agree.
Yeah. So Miss Plum, I'm sorry. I get passionate about this stuff because I really care about men. I want us to maximize what we're capable of. But you're here. So, you know, if you want to switch on your mic and ask a question, I'm more than welcome to hear what you got to say.
Yeah. Before Mrs. Plum goes on,
Mhm.
Mrs. Plum, make sure you're not watching YouTube in the background so we don't get feedback. But first of all, man, what you just said is what all men need to hear. For example, I have a personal, my own personal journey, man, when it comes to YouTube. Like, I locked in when it comes to YouTube, and
Mhm.
last month I had my best month. Now, as
Mm.
you know, with YouTube, it's up and down,
Yeah.
but it's not until I saw it, I'm like, holy shit, I did this.
Yeah.
Like, but that mindset, like when it switches on and you lock in,
Mm-hmm.
like everything as man, like once you lock in, once you have a goal and you write down the plan,
Mm-hmm.
like if I didn't lock in, I
Yes.
wouldn't have this conversation with you right
Yes.
now.
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
telling you.
And you're
Like,
competing. That's the crazy part. You are competing in a race that other people don't know has started.
facts.
You're competing and going, and there's other cats that's just like, oh, we're in the West Coast. I had a friend of mine, college roommate, that moved from the East Coast of Philadelphia, and with his girlfriend or wife at the time, moved to the West Coast with no connections. And at one point in time was damn near getting ready to be living out of a car. And now he has a reputable business in California, in LA, with no connections. So I'm just sitting here, man, like me and him about to try to do a little business merger so we can help each other out. And then I'm hearing everybody that say what we can't do. I'm not talking like these women talking about you got to make 6 figures. I'm not saying you got to make 150, 200,000. I'm saying that 50 to 75 range, bro. That's what you got to lock into. And wherever you are, you got to try to exceed it. That's it.
I agree, man. For me, more than even the dating and all this, I like when this conversation about men and motivation, because I believe nothing gives a man
Yeah.
more hope, more confidence, more
Mhm.
happiness than conquering his goals. Like,
Mhm.
I don't think there's anything close to that. I don't think there's any type of happiness close to that. You
Yeah.
know, so thank you, that man. For all men, I
Mhm.
think this probably whoever will watch the replay. This is probably the most important part of this conversation today. For men, for
Yes,
women, I don't
man.
care. You can wish for your 6 figures, but for men, that was the most important part of the whole conversation. Now,
Go
I
ahead, man.
know.
So just for the sake of time, because I am running
Yeah,
up against it, I do have another engagement. I can absolutely do this with Miss Plum for sure.
you say you can.
I can.
Yes, we're going to that. So, Mrs. Plum, thank you. I just wanted to bring up a lady on my channel so that women know I don't hate women. I love my black queens. So, Mrs. Plum, the floor is yours. If you have any question, any comment to Mr. Jeff, anything you want to say, go on.
First and foremost, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Good. Thank you so much. I greatly appreciate the opportunity, and I'm not going to hold you up. I want to say, don't ever apologize for
Mm,
giving what you just gave us. Don't ever apologize for that.
mm,
I know you're in here and you're talking to the guys, but I don't know if you've seen my comments before,
mhm,
but being in here and listening to you talk to the men, for me, it's a benefit because it allows me to, first and foremost, understand more. Understand because this is not my perspective. I'm a woman, so I don't get to see it this way. I don't necessarily hear it, even though I'm married. My husband and I have a good communication setup, but there are things that he can tell me that I don't necessarily understand. And in listening to you, I have been able to communicate with him more to say, "Hey, I
mm,
understand this.
mm,
Is this how it is?"
mhm,
So when you talk to the men,
mhm,
I listen because I can turn around and better assist my husband.
mm,
Everything you say, everything, like what you just said just now, even though you were like, I'm talking to King Breeze, you were talking to me too. I was fully
mhm,
receptive and open to that. So,
mm,
I mean, I can't speak for all the women, but for me, this has definitely been um, a journey and an opportunity that I'm so glad that I happened upon. And my husband is the person that put me on it. It was like, hey, check this
mm,
out, because he listens to things while he's working.
mhm,
So when he put me in this space, he didn't even put me in this line. I'm gonna say this lane. He put me in on the guys that were going through the divorces, the guys that were having all the troubles with, infidelity.
yeah.
And it was just something that, he was listening to, and he was like, hey, I want you to listen to this. And for him, I guess he was like, I know you're gonna understand. I know you're gonna be receptive. And I was. I just, I was probably the chick that they were like, why you hating on why you hating on us? You always on the guy's side. Yeah,
Mhm,
I am on the guy's side. I am on the guy's side. So yeah, so I really just wanted to get in here and say I greatly appreciate what you're doing. I
mhm,
I know you say you speak to the men, but I'm sorry, you speaking to me. I take I take and get on almost every bandwagon I can get on to hear what you
mm,
got to say. I follow the people that you have been on the panel with, even if it's someone that I didn't know before, like you. Um, and I'm sorry, I don't want to mispronounce your name. Is it Buggier? How do you say it? I'm sorry.
Boogie, boogie, boogie.
Boogie. Okay. Yeah, I didn't know you before, Mr. St. James. I had no clue. There was Dr. Will James. I had no clue about these men
mm,
and these other people that were out here speaking. So now I'm starting to follow more people, and
mm,
my husband's like, you need to talk more. You need to get out there and let
mhm,
them know that there are women out that's
Facts.
that's support. So and yeah, I would love to do it, but I feel
mhm,
like I don't necessarily possess the credentials to get out there and speak as you do.
mm,
But yeah, even though I just wanted to let you know, even though that you are out here talking to the men, I greatly appreciate it because I can take everything that you're saying. I can digest it, try to figure it out. I share the videos with my husband and say, "Hey, look at this one. Look at this one. Remember we had this conversation. We just had this talk." So
yeah.
it is very informative, and I appreciate you getting out here and giving us this platform to have healthy, healthy discussions. I like it when you shut the panels down and it's quiet because I can actually hear,
Mhm.
the conversations. I can hear what's going on, and it's easier for me to understand and digest what's happening.
Hey, number one, that that's a great first call in that I've ever received. That was listen, we gon'
I'm good. I'm glad it was
Boogie,
good.
you gonna clip this, right? You gonna clip this
Yeah,
part, right?
it's
Yeah.
gonna be the first one.
Yeah, so thank you, and that's a call in for both of us. So thank you for this, and I'll say, I appreciate that because it can get to you when you start first doing this and you get both the positive and then the negative. I think for me, I had to mentally prepare myself to enter into this space and recognize that the truth matters more than whatever those people are going to have to say about me. And once I was able to kind of lock in on that, it made this part kind of easy. So I really love and I really appreciate the love and support that everybody's been sharing. And my hope is that the people I'm collaborating with, they start to see that there is a space for this new way of approaching the manosphere, talking about relationships, gender war topics and stuff. I think there's a different way that we can start to talk about it and people will still watch. Like not everything got to be like you a B, you a 304, you a this, you a that. Like I think this may be a new era where we can start to push for these types of things to happen. And again, exactly what you said happened in your marriage and relationship is actually the goal. Is the goal just to say everything's what every it's just that women are bad and men are bad, or is the goal to actually point us back to each other and figure out how to take accountability and listen and hear each other better? So I'm grateful and honored that you've taken the things that I've said on this microphone and it's helped your marriage. It's helped your relationship. You're like, based on what you said, it sounds like you're basically saying, I'm able to understand my husband better and hear him better.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's and not well, first and foremost, let me make this clear. We
Hmm.
have a very good communication. We
Hmm.
are very open. It's none of this like in some of the things that you talk about where it's the silent thing. It's
Hmm.
there's no conversation, there's no talking, there's no exchange.
Hmm.
But at the same time, coming from a therapist, it sounds different. The wording is different. And I can sit there and, sometimes you have to look at it from the outside. And when I hear it from somewhere else, I come back and I say, "Is this what you were saying?"
Hmm.
And he's like, "Yeah, that's what I was. Oh, I didn't get it." And
Hmm.
and sometimes it's like that for me. And
Hmm.
even if I feel bad in the moment that I didn't get what he was saying, it doesn't mean that I'm not ever open to receiving it elsewhere. And then as soon as I get it, I come back and I say, "Hey, is this it? Is this how it was? Oh, I'm sorry I didn't get that." Because he's always receptive to me. I mean,
Hmm.
but also listening to you, I can't necessarily express myself always myself. So in listening to you, it has assisted me to be more verbal, more communicative. I can say things like, "Oh, this is what I was trying to say," versus stumbling over my words. I listened to one of your podcasts and I can come
Hmm.
back and say, "This is what it was,"
Hmm.
because you spoke it out. And even though it wasn't directed to me as a female on the receptive end, I understood it.
Nah, listen, I really genuinely appreciate that. It's exciting because, and that's extremely validating to know us as content creators. It's one thing when you start this and nobody's watching. Usually, most people in your life, personal life, Boogie knows this, they don't care. Most people in
Mm,
your personal life, if you got kids or family or friends, if they're not into this stuff, they may watch it once, they may give you a like, but when you get a bunch of strangers to be like, wow, that's my perspective. Like I understand things now. Like though this really, really helped me. That's what makes this kind of worth it. And our goal, his and mine as well, is not only to point out the bad behavior, but actually point out the behavior that we think we need to change in men and women so we can actually fix this stuff. So well, we're both grateful. Speaking for Boogie, but I'm grateful and I genuinely thank you for that. And something tell me I'm gonna be reaching out to you soon because you've been on both our channels
yes,
and
yes, sir. Yes,
I
sir.
think I
Check
might
your
need you
email.
as I might need you as a moderator when these chats start getting crazy once I start doing these call-ins, honestly. And I do want to say one thing while I'm still here before I go. To King Breeze, as I'm reading and you're saying, you didn't mean for it to be taken in a way in which it came off in terms of a lot of men can't make certain things, certain amount or whatever. I apologize. I get very passionate about this stuff, and I didn't mean to make it come off like I'm judging you or calling you what's the right word? I forget exactly what it was in terms of a loser or anything like that. I don't want us to get in the habit of saying out loud what men can't do in this culture and society. And that's really what it boils down. I don't like to do that personally, individually, and I don't like to use the words impossible, hard, difficult. I'm learning that as I've changed that language personally, and I'm changing that language with the clients I'm working with, my life and their lives are typically getting better. And so that I apologize if I came off a little too harshly. So forgive me in my passion. I just want to see us as men, grow in the ways in which we can.
Yeah, man. I wanted to take this opportunity, man. When Mrs. Plum was talking, I almost shed a tear, but I was like, I gotta be a man, I gotta be a man. It's just so refreshing to know there's at least one woman. Obviously, I'm not surprised it's a married woman,
Mhm,
you know, who
mhm.
kind of understands where men are coming from. Are we saying men are perfect? No,
No.
they're not. That's why brother Jeff went on a rant talking about what men should do better. Because at least men, we're gonna hold each other accountable at all times. But shout out to Mrs. Plum. I know you said your husband told you should start a channel or start speaking up, but honestly, you did a good job. I think you should start. I just made you a moderator for my channel. Jeff said he's gonna reach out to you. I'd also love to reach out to you and maybe have a one-on-one with you if your husband agrees.
Mhm.
So if you want to put your links down below in the chat or your Instagram, how people can reach you if people want to get in contact with you. But I've gone beyond my time with this gentleman, so I'll definitely be bringing him back because it seems like you guys really enjoyed him. Don't forget his channel. I've been putting down, just type Ask a Brother podcast in YouTube. You'll definitely be getting that. I'll bring him back because some seems like you guys enjoyed this. And Mrs. Plum, I really appreciate you. I appreciate you and your husband. God bless you and your marriage. And I hope it could be you. You could be the Jeff, the female version. You never know. You could
Female
speak up
Kevin
and
Samuels.
yeah, like, so thank you for coming on, thank you for supporting me and everybody who supports me, and thank you, brother Jeff. And yeah, so last few words and then that's it, sir.
Thank you for the opportunity, bro, and for the love and support. And just believe, man, this will not be the last time that we're gonna be doing this together for sure. And to thank you all that are watching it now, are going to watch this stuff later on, and just know that this little convo we just had with Mrs. Plum, this just motivates me even more. So best believe that me and some of these other content creators, I think there's going to be a lot of content creators just realizing like there's a new way. My hope is that the negative stuff starts to get really old and gets played out. So if we can do that, man, who knows how far these messages and videos can go. So I appreciate your time, and see y'all on the other side.
All right, brother. Thank you, Mrs. Plum.